Hey everybody, welcome back. Thanks for tuning in as always. I've had a lot of new subscribers lately and I just wanted to extend a special welcome to all the new subscribers and to say thank you for joining us. If you've been with the channel for a while, you might remember this old Case DC that we picked up, I don't know, a couple of years ago, something like that. This is a 1952 Case DC with a hand clutch and the adjustable wide front. I have got 10 tractors at the moment. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Anyway, I can't keep them all, and I'd like to get rid of a few of these now just so I can get some more stuff. So the Case DC here has been sold. I made an agreement with the gentleman, and it looks like that's going to come through. So let me share the story with you. I think it's kind of neat. It won't take long. So a couple months ago, I made a short for sale video on this tractor and posted it to my YouTube channel. I had no interest in that and no interest in a local ad I was running either until about a week ago. Somebody contacted me through my YouTube channel. They said they had watched the for sale video on the Case DC and they were interested in it. So I said, here's my email address. Go ahead and email me and I'll answer any questions you might have. So he did. It only took him a couple hours to respond to that. And in that response, again, everything seemed pretty legitimate to me. And so I gave him my phone number. Well, about 15 minutes later, he calls me on the phone. I'm not going to give you his name or his exact location either, just to keep his information private. But he's calling from the great state of Texas. So we got to talking a little bit. He's a tractor enthusiast and a collector, kind of like I am. From what I gathered, he liked all different kinds of tractors, but his main interest seemed to be the Case brand. And he said he already owned an SC and a narrow front DC, but he'd been looking for a wide front DC for quite a while and he wanted to add one to his collection. And when he said he was from Texas, my first thought was, well, this probably isn't going to work because of the costs involved in hauling the tractor, you know, getting it back to him. If you guys don't know, that's pretty expensive. There's a lot of guys out there that do it, and there are different ways that you can hire people to do it, but none of them are cheap. Regardless, he said he definitely wanted the tractor. We negotiated on the phone very briefly, came up with a price that was fair for both of us. And right after we agreed on the price, I had a thought. And then I asked him, how many tractors you have left? What do you got left? And because he was trying to thin out his fleet as well and focus more on just the Case tractors. And so I asked him if he'd be interested in just trading tractors. Since the guy's coming from your place anyway to my place and then back to his place. You want to trade just straight across? I'll trade you the Case DC for something you got. And he thought about it for a few seconds, said, sure, I got an old Farmall I might want to get rid of. And of course my ears perked up because I'm a huge Farmall fan. And long story short, that's the deal we made. Trade straight across a Case DC for one of his old Farmalls. And unfortunately, his guy's going to charge him more to bring his here and then bring this one back versus just taking this one to him. So even though he was still happy with the deal, it ended up being not as good of a deal for him because of the extra charge and shipping. I gave him the opportunity to back out of the deal or just say, just pay me cash for mine and don't worry about yours. He said, no, a deal's a deal. That's what we agreed on. That's what I'm going to stick to. So I thought that was pretty amazing that he still wanted the tractor, even with the additional shipping costs. Not a lot of people would have done that. And in the end, I offered to pay for some of his shipping costs, just to take some of the sting off of it a little bit for him. I thought that was the right thing to do on my part, and he was very thankful for that. So I think in the end, we both ended up being happy about the deal that we made overall. So now that the deal is all done and agreed to both parties, I'm thinking in my head, well, this is a bit of a logistics issue still. You know, he's got to get in touch with his guy, you know, depending on his schedule and the weather and everything else. I thought this could be weeks down the road, or it might even be months down the road. And then he called me 2 days later and he said he'd arranged everything with the shipping company, and the plan was for his guy to bring the Farmall to me, bring this one back to Texas within the span of 4 days. So that's what I'm waiting on at this point. The guy could roll up at any minute. I don't know exactly when he's gonna show up. I think he'll probably give me a call when he's, you know, a couple hours away or something like that. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that story. I thought it was fun the way it worked out. The guy was just absolutely wonderful to deal with. It's nice to deal with honest people for a change, isn't it? There's just so many people out there that take advantage of you, or at least try to take advantage of you, and this guy was just honest to his core, like I think that I am too. So that worked out great. I said goodbye to the KSDC. It's on its way back to Texas. According to the guy, it'll be there tomorrow in Texas. So he's hardcore driver. He doesn't mess around. And here is the Farmall. This is a big boy, Farmall M. I've never owned an M before, but she's pretty tall, pretty big, pretty heavy. I think it's about 5,000 pounds. So let's give this thing a walk around, see what condition it's in overall. Rear tires look really good, don't they? No dry rot or anything, plenty of tread. Rim looks okay. Looks like it's been repainted at some point and the paint is flaking off. Front tires are not as good. You can see we got some cracking going on, but I assume there's tubes in there, so hopefully they'll last a while like that. Looks like we got a piece missing in the wheel right there. It's supposed to be like this, but you can see something broke it out at one point. Now the left tire looks to be in better condition, doesn't it? The tread's in better shape. It's not so rounded off like that, and the cracking is not as bad, although it still has some. I see some now on the side, but not terrible. The wheel on this side is good, but it's different than the one on the right side. I'll have to do some research on those to figure out which one is correct and which one is not. Coming back to this left rear tire and wheel. Tire looks to be in good condition, just like the other one. I don't see any cracking or anything. And the wheel, same thing with the wheel. The rims look really good, and the wheels have some paint flaking off. It's almost like somebody brushed on some paint over the old stuff at some point, didn't prepare it properly, so it's flaking off, but it's not bad. I guess I'd rather have flaking paint than a bunch of rust. Coming around to the back, we've got some modifications back here. Yeah, some big time modifications. Look at this here, that weld. Big old plates, big old angle iron down there. And it looks like they made a provision for a top link. This is the ram, looks like, that operates the lift. Some pretty heavy duty stuff, but it kind of looks like a combination of factory stuff and homemade stuff and 3-point stuff. So I think somebody had this set up to run 3-point implements with it. I guess this here is just supposed to be a stabilization bar. Not sure about that. And here it looks like we lost a nut or something on its 1,300-mile journey to Idaho. Probably was loose in the first place and just fell off somewhere along the way, so we'll have to get a nut on there. There are no lights on this tractor, and it's kind of funny. This is the light bar here. From here over to that end, that's where the light should be. Somebody has turned the light bar into a grab it handle. Anyway, I think I'll get rid of these grips eventually and probably put some lights back on it. I think that'd be cool. I also noticed that the tractor does not have fenders anymore. They would have been bolted right here. And right here. Oh boy, I just saw this for the first time. you can get a better look at this homemade contraption here now. But man, somebody must have really hung something heavy off of this thing to crack it there. You know, it kind of goes diagonally across the weld and then into the meat of that plate. And all this stuff is really thick. So I'm not sure what to think about that. Maybe we'll just do nothing and it'll hold forever. But anyway, we'll make a note of that too. And I also noticed that we've got a rag wrapped around this axle where it meets the housing. And I'll give you one guess what that might mean. If we come over to the left side, you can see this axle here is nice and dry and relatively clean. Over here, we've got a lot of dirt built up, which usually indicates there's an oil leak, and dirt just gets attracted to that oil and piles up on it over the years till it gets thick like this. It's probably just a bad seal in there. That might be something we have to address also. I will add that to the list. We got your large style PTO. The shock absorber and the spring on the seat still work. I did sit in it once when we were taking it off the trailer. Looking up on the dash, we've got our standard Farmall light switch. And we've got a key switch with no key. So when we try to start it, I'll either have to hot wire it or just go to Tractor Supply and get one of those universal new tumbler sets for 20 bucks. I think you can get them for about 20 bucks or so with a couple new keys with it. Somebody has installed a lever here, so you press this down with your foot and that engages the starter button back there. So that's kind of handy, I guess. I do know that the brakes work because when we were taking it off the trailer and we were just letting it down with gravity, and I was using the brakes to ease its way down. Up here, big old steering wheel. Looks like we got our throttle control here. Most of this stuff is just completely different design than the other Farmalls I have, the Cub, the Super A, and the Super C. This is kind of a different animal. And in fact, it is an animal. This is a big tractor. I don't know if you guys can tell from the video, but it's pretty tall. You know, the top of the hood is right about where my shoulder is, give or take. That's where the battery goes in here. We did not get a battery with it. And we got some cruddy cables here. I'll get those switched out with some good ones when I put the battery in it. Little sediment bowl. You'd think there'd be a larger one on this tractor, but what do I know? I don't know what this thing is. I think this lever here that goes up here, I think this controls the rear lift. You got your standard Farmall type oil filter canister there. And we've got a battery ignition system with a coil. And this is 12 volt, by the way. Firing order is 1342. That's standard for the Farmalls I've owned. Belts are a little old, but they seem to be okay. The big one here is a little loose. There's some wetness up here below the upper radiator section. I guess that's right above the water pump. So the water pump does not appear to be leaking. So it appears to be coming from, I think, just the hose there. So that would be nice if it was just the hose, but I'm not sure that would be easy to replace. It looks pretty small up in there. This is where you put the engine oil. Let's see if we can get the radiator cap off. This is so tall I can't even see in there. So it's full of liquid, but that liquid looks like water to me. Well, let me go get my baster. Let's pull some out of there, see what it looks like. Now it does have a green tint to it. That's good. Yeah, it smells like antifreeze. So that's good. I didn't want to find 100% water in there in the winter. It's been getting pretty cold around here. Pretty decent Farmall badge here in the front. In fact, the whole front is pretty good. It looks like it's never been crushed. See how straight the metal is? Both sides. There's one tiny little dent right there, but the rest of it is all straight. In fact, all the sheet metal looks good. Again, it looks like it's been painted at some point, and whoever painted it didn't do a very good job of preparation because it's trying to come off. You know, here's the place where you attach the hand crank if you're going to try to hand crank them. These are big motors, but you can hand crank them. Looks like the radiator took a hit at some point, but doesn't seem to be leaking. This setup here is a little different than what I'm used to on my other Farmalls. This must be the governor housing, I'm guessing. This here is the throttle control rod from up on the dash, and it actuates something inside here that must in turn actuate something in here to open and close the throttle butterfly. It's a little bit different, right? Normally you see another rod like this on perhaps on the back side of the carburetor for the throttle. Doesn't look like we had any leaks from the valve cover. Just normal dirt and grime up there, no big deal. Big old oil bath air cleaner up there. Now I saw this maker's tag earlier, and this is a disappointment because the serial number is completely missing. So even though I don't have the serial number on the tag, I think we can at least get a general idea on when this tractor was made, what year it might be. If you look here, it says 8/30W. 8 is the month of August, 30 is the date, so August 30th. W is the international code for 1951. You can also get an indication from the style of decal, but that's not as concrete evidence as something like a stamping on the block, because you can remove decals and put different ones on, right? But thanks to one of my YouTube friends, he was pointing out that this particular style with the IH logo and the McCormick here with no Deering after it, just McCormick and Farmall, this particular style was the decal from 1948 and up. So that also corresponds with the date on the block, that being in 1951. So for the time being, I am going to call this a 1951 Farmall M. And if I happen to get any more evidence to the contrary in the future, I will let you know and make a note of that, but we're going to call it a 1951 for now. We have a foot clutch, starter here. Again, the battery goes here. We got some external hydraulic line, well, one external hydraulic line that goes back to that ram that operates the rear lift. These are the brake drum housings. So now we're going to climb up, if I can figure out how to get up here. Up there in the hood, we've got oil pressure gauge. That gauge goes to 75. Goodness gracious. And then a water temp gauge on the right. This is our throttle. Usually Farmalls have the shift pattern stamped in the plate somewhere, but I don't see it on this one. Got a little play in the steering wheel, but that's typical for a tractor of this age. The hydraulic line that comes back here to the rear lift doesn't look all that great. It looks like you might have a leak somewhere because it's pretty wet right in this area. You can see that. This must be the PTO engage and disengage. Now we're going to check the condition of the engine oil, and we're going to say a little prayer to the antique tractor gods that nothing is wrong with it. So we got oil coming out the top petcock, so that's the first bit of good news. It's full of oil. This stuff looks good enough to at least get it started on, and we'll go from there. And if everything else is okay, we'll change the oil, and hopefully we won't have any more issues with it. All right, now let's take a look inside the gas tank. Looks like we've had some spillage. See how much is in here first of all. Whoa, look how much is in there. She's dang near full. It must have sloshed out during the trip from Texas to Idaho and just ended up a little bit on the gas tank there. But now we want to check out the quality. Well, it's a little bit old, but it's not bad at all. It's just got a little tint of yellow to it. So let's assess what we've got so far. We've got good tires, pretty good condition paint overall. Yeah, some of it's flaking off, but it isn't a rust bucket. We got a full tank of gas. That'll save us 50 bucks right there. A little bit of sediment, a little bit of corrosion at the bottom of the tank, but I don't think that stuff is loose because the gas looks good and clear. So does the gas in the sediment bowl. So hopefully that corrosion is just like on the bottom. There's not, you know, sediment and dirt floating around in there. I tried to scrape some up with that stick and nothing really came up. So I think we're okay with the fuel system, at least the gas tank and the sediment bowl. The coolant looks okay and it's full. It's too bad about the serial number being missing, but nothing we can do about it, so I'm going to stop talking about it. The front two wheels are different, a little strange. The sheet metal is all good and straight, even the front nice and straight. The brakes work, I already know that. Not sure about the rear lift yet. And there's a number of other things to address as well. Good morning, everybody. It's the next day now, and we're going to do some tinkering on this Farmall M and try to get it started. I got us a new battery, 2 new cables, a new key ignition switch, and I think that's all we need. We're going to start with the ground cable. It's another cold morning out here. It's about 26 degrees Fahrenheit. Supposed to have a high of about 39 or 40 today. Going with the Traveler brand. I've had good luck with this particular Traveler battery. I had another one that I've been using for the last 4 years or so on my winch and various tractors, and it's never failed me. So I got a new one today. I picked up the exact same model. Hopefully it will be good as well. This has got the side post and the top post, and it's got a carry handle. And this battery has a manufacturing date of January 2025, so this sucker is brand new. These stickers eventually will fade or, you know, come off, so I like to write the date with a white paint pen So a few years down the road, I can glance at this and say, oh yeah, that was bought in January of 2025. All right, so here's the earth cable. I've had a few of these quick disconnect things in my drawer for a while, and I thought we'd go ahead and install one here. Why not? Now I'm going to get this ignition switch switched out with that new one. It was only $17.99 at Tractor Supply, and it came with 2 keys. If the previous owner happens to send me the keys to this in the mail with that other stuff he's sending me, you know, maybe we can put this back on and put this new one on the shelf for a different project in the future. But for now, we're going to run this new one, just so we don't have to mess around with trying to hotwire it. This has got a different type of connection on the back of the switch, so we're going to cut these wires and strip them. Have you guys seen these little electrical connections before? They're pretty handy for things like this. You know, they're better than just the standard butt connectors in my opinion, and they're easy to use, reusable. You can take the wires in and out. So you just put one wire in one side and close the door on it, and then it's secure in there. And then you take the other wire you want to connect it to, put it in the other side, close the door on it, and you're good. A lot of times I'll use these for temporary situations, kind of like this. It's like, is this switch going to stay here forever? Well, I'm not sure yet, so I'll use this. And then honestly, what ends up happening is these things work so well that I just leave them on there forever. And key. All right, I think we're go for first attempt at startup here. Turn on the fuel for the first time. Hopefully this thing doesn't leak. No, no. Don't leak on me. Well, I closed it a little bit more, and it doesn't seem to be leaking now. So I'll keep my eye on that. And I have no idea if the carburetor is any good. I don't see anything leaking over here. So I'm just going to try to fire it up, and we'll see what happens. We're going to give her some choke and a little throttle. Key on. Well, that doesn't sound good. We got a serious, I don't know if that's a temporary mist that's occurring or what. It could be fuel related, or it could be something to do with the points or the electrical system. So let's crack the distributor cap open and take a look at those points. Man, these wires are old. They are like, they're bent in that shape, and that's kind of how they are now. They don't want to move much. The rotor looks fine. A little old, but not bad. Take the dust cover off, and oh yeah, we got some serious metal swapping here on the points. Let me see if I can show you. Yeah, you can see that a little bit. I think it's actually a mountain in real life. That kind of looks flat on the camera, but that's a mountain, so I'm guessing there's a pit in the other side. That could be part of our issue. Let me just take a points file to it and see if that clears it up at all. I use that points file first, then shoot it with either some air or some brake clean, and then I use paper after that just to get the rest of whatever might be between the contacts, moisture or debris. Give them a couple flicks. Well, we'll see if that did anything. All right, here we go for take two. Well, cleaning the points did help a little bit, but we still have that hesitation sputter going on. So if cleaning the points actually helped, maybe that is the crux of the issue. Maybe we need to just replace those points. But I think I'm going to wrap this video up here and think about this for a little bit. I still want to get all the spark plugs out. Maybe we'll do a compression test on it. It's very likely there could be a combination carburetor issue and electrical issue. Looks like we're getting some wetness on the back of the carburetor here too. I suppose the right thing to do would be to order a carburetor kit for this, put new points and condenser in, and investigate the spark plugs and the spark plug wires just to make sure that there's nothing wrong there. Now I can't tell if it's the radiator hose leaking or something higher up above that's leaking, because there's some wetness on right there too on this housing. It's not a bad leak, you just get a drop every once in a while. Doesn't seem to be leaking any oil. Go ahead and disconnect our power to the battery here, as long as we got it. But besides all that stuff, the motor sounds good. There's no knocking or clanking or anything like that. It sounds like it should run well when we get everything figured out. Yeah, oh, I forgot to mention we had really good oil pressure. I didn't get a chance to see if the charging system was working yet either, so we'll save all that for the next video. If you guys are not subscribed yet, please consider doing that. If you like videos like this is kind of what I do for a hobby. Even if I didn't have this YouTube channel, this is what I'd be doing in my free time. So I'll say so long for now. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you guys on the next video.